Welcome back. It's Elections Canada's job to investigate complaints about the voting system, and right now it has a big job on its hands. The federal agency says it has a list of 31,000 contacts from Canadians. They may be complaining about phone calls directing them to the wrong polling stations or complaints about other kinds of harassing calls. And the Conservative government is watching the so-called robocall controversy grow day by day. David Mackay has the latest from Ottawa. So, David, how significant is it that Elections Canada has confirmed that it's received 31,000 contacts?
Oh, Christine, it's huge. Up until this point, the Conservatives have tried to brand this whole issue as being a smear campaign on the part of the Liberals and the NDP. A smear campaign filled with what the Tories called unsubstantiated allegations. It's really hard to say that when Elections Canada comes out and says that it's received contacts, as it's calling them, contacts from 31,000 individuals, actually over 31,000 individuals. It's a lot harder for the Conservatives now to say all those people are trying to smear the Tories. Now, the trick for Elections Canada is to try to figure out which of those calls deal with legitimate voter suppression, which is illegal under the Canada Elections Act. That is, calls coming to people who, claim that they're from Elections Canada, and you're supposed to go to a wrong polling station, for example. That would be illegal. And which calls are simply made during dinner, and the person is annoyed because they couldn't finish their dinner, that kind of thing. So really, Elections Canada has to sort through all of that, and as you can imagine, it's a huge job. It does sound like a huge job. So how long would an investigation this big likely take? Well, that's really a good question, and the simple answer is that no one knows. Elections Canada has never done anything like this before. You go from handling about 1,000 complaints a year to more than 31,000 contacts, and many of those can be complaints. It's huge. It does have a small cadre of investigators that it can draw upon. Some of those individuals are former RCMP officers. It can also call on the RCMP to bring in reinforcements. And as well, Christine, it may be referring individuals to the telecommunications regulator, the CRTC. We have at least one email correspondence where Elections Canada tells the individual that political calls are really akin to telemarketing. We all know about telemarketing. A lot of us don't necessarily like telemarketing. Well, the agency responsible for telemarketing is the CRTC. The CRTC reportedly is saying that it has not received any complaints up until this date. But even if it did receive complaints and it did investigate, it wouldn't tell us because it's not in the business of confirming or denying that it is investigating. So yet we could have the CRTC become another player in what is likely to continue to be a very important discourse, I think, about where our state of politics is in this country. Christine? Well, this story just seems to keep growing, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. David, thanks so much for this. You're welcome. David Mackay in Ottawa. Although allegations of voter misdirection are new to Canada, it's actually common south of the border. Anything for a vote, dirty tricks, cheap shots, and October surprises is the title of a new book about the tactics used in American election campaigns. Here's the author, Joseph Cummins, talking about Canada's very own dirty tricks controversy.
They certainly make dirty robocalls in the United States, but when I found out that it was a deliberate attempt to disenfranchise Canadian voters, then I thought, boy, Canada has jumped from down to maybe a 2 on the sleazometer scale of dirty elections, almost up to a 10. One of the reasons it's disturbing is that it's so targeted against individual voters. What happens here in America was that there are a lot of attempts to disenfranchise voters by making it very difficult for them to register the vote, by enacting arcane legislation such as the paper that a ballot is written on has to be a certain paper stock. There's something different about this, because I really feel that happening on the eve of an election, it's a way to send people however many miles out of their way so they just can't vote. And it's almost like the Grinch who stole democracy. It's someone trying to literally steal your vote. And if I were one of those voters who were disenfranchised, I would feel extremely angry about that. One thing that I found out is that the dirtier the election, the more people get involved. And either they want to vote against someone because that person's party is doing dirty tricks, or they want to vote for their candidate because they don't like to see them smeared in that way. So I don't think we're going to clear up dirty tricks, but in a weird way, I don't think it's all bad that some of this stuff comes out.
That was author Joseph Cummins speaking to us from Maplewood, New Jersey.